I would like to start with an introducing Krishna here, right? So, hi Krishna. So Krishna is a fellow friend, and he has been helping a lot of D2C brands scale their business on Amazon-like marketplaces. So he's been generous enough to agree on coming here and helping all of us as D2C founders how we can scale our brands on Amazon and be profitable, right? Not only that, excelling, but again, once you have established yourself in marketplaces like India, how can we expand geographies using Amazon and grow the business? So,
hey Abhishek, thank you for the introduction.
Yes, welcome, Krishna.
Hi guys, I'm really excited to discuss a few points and help each and every. I hope this conversation has a positive impact on your Amazon balance books, and it helps you in some or the other way. So I'll just take 2 minutes to introduce myself. Currently I'm the founder of RevBoosters. We currently help a lot of brands to scale up their businesses on Amazon in India and the international markets. I've handled more than 50 crores of spends in my stint. This started from about 2018, and I've been into the e-commerce and D2C space since like 2014, when we were a SaaS company, and I've been in this digital marketing space. So when you mentioned, it's about giving back to the community of, for whatever you've learned. That's exactly why I'm here today. So I initially started with, so as the demand on Amazon grew, it was initially an extension of performance marketing when we were doing Google and Facebook ads. So Amazon PPC also kicked in. So we started with PPC only, but then we learned that to be successful on Amazon, it takes much more than just PPC, and eventually the profitability needs to be accounted for if you want to have a sustainable relationship with the clients. So that's where I started looking out for building a team. So now we have a proper team with multiple sub teams doing different parts and taking care of different parts for a seller on Amazon. And we've been doing that. So RevBoosters was incorporated in 2019, but my work started much earlier to that. And together with my team, we've scaled up more than 100 brands on Amazon for sure. And then there's a lot of complexity when it comes to Amazon. This is the general consensus. And when I talk to founders, I talk to CMOs, I realize that there's not a lot of visibility in terms of reporting, in terms of payments, a lot of areas where people can use a lot of help. And that's where along with just managing services, we kind of make sure that the people we partner up with are also making money and then growing. Like, it's not like a go all guns blazing and go run out of business for the next 2 years. So that's how primarily we've been scaling up. So if there are no questions, I can just start with my PPT. I'll just run through.
Yes, Krishna. So probably we will take the questions in the chat and
the questions. Yeah. Yes. Okay. So so this is going to be the agenda. I'll just run you through it. Now I already from the poll, I understand that a lot of people here are already on Amazon. So I'll just reiterate for people who are yet planning to do it. How can you sell, or how are the different ways of doing business with Amazon? And I am guessing that a lot of people here are third-party sellers. So I'm going to be explaining few more details of the fee structures and commercials for Amazon. And then I'll kind of focus on how to have an effective Amazon growth strategy. So within that, there are a few subtitles that I've put in here in the agenda. Then I'll finally look at international growth. spend some, discuss a few tips for the Prime Day, and then based on the seller forums, I'll highlight a few frequently asked questions, and then if we have more questions, we can take that forward. So moving into my first slide. So why Amazon? It's why not? Because it's the company to follow, and everything around it. It's built the most effective delivery systems across markets. Right? It's got so much of presence. It's got so much of credibility. It allows you to start exploring markets with no investments in terms of web assets. You can get onto the marketplaces and immediately start selling and understanding the product traction, build a global brand. The scale of consumers is extremely high, and with TVCs, with radio ads, with paper inserts, it's become one of, it is the competing marketplace leader in India. I'm really not sure about the numbers when it comes to Flipkart, but with the kind of work we do with across our partners, we see Amazon leading all the way as compared to a Flipkart. Again, it changes with a lot of product categories as well, right? Brands are there on Amazon for the one-day delivery feature. I'll be really frank with you, because then there are a lot of brands that are scaled up on the website as well, but getting this convenience from a mobile app that kind of delivers the product in one day, that's another level of convenience. And Amazon is also consumer centric. It kind of makes policies according to it, and then there are other advantages, right? If you are doing business through FBA, customer support is being taken care of. Your products are being safeguarded in terms of returns, in terms of a lot of fraud that happens while returning, COD payments, all of that. Warehousing, of course, is one of the crucial parts of Amazon, in terms of the value add. And then with a constantly expanding team in markets, right? It's one of the best platforms to be on right now. And with the number of partners that we've worked with, a usual question or a very frequent question when these partners or these brands are involved in fundraising is how much is the scale and profitability on Amazon, right? And that's when the seriousness of the situation comes in, and a lot of brands look up to Amazon to kind of build a revenue backbone for the brand. And we help them to kind of make sure that happens properly every month. So moving on. So there are basically two ways of doing business with Amazon. So the first is become a first party seller, and the second part is like become a third party seller. So first party sellers usually work with with companies like Apparel Retail, Amazon Retail, Cloudtail, which is now it's diverted all its categories into multiple other vendors, but they basically work as vendors, and brands become wholesalers for Amazon. They fix us a fee, from the MRP as a percentage, share for selling on Amazon, and that rarely changes. They've got a strong distribution system. If you are working with Amazon Retail as a first party seller, which is called as 1P, you don't have to care about FBA. You don't have to care about a lot of things that third party sellers usually go through. But the disadvantage here is, unless you are a well-known brand in the ecosystem, first party kind of scale up reduces, or kind of has dependencies. The revenue generation has dependencies on Amazon, right? So if Amazon sees that the product traction is not coming in, the way it starts sending reducing purchase order values, that kind of helps understand the growth is delimiting, and there are a lot more problems. And then if you want to switch to a third party model, it kind of complicates the process further. But if you are a known brand, if the product traction is amazingly good, if the pricing is really apt, and if you are doing a huge business in terms of in crores per month, where distribution is something that your a big team is used to manage your logistics. It's better that you convert to a first party seller and start selling. And then again, this all depends on a case to case basis as to where the brand is in its growth stage. So most all of us, when we start working with Amazon as brand owners, as CMOs, we are third party sellers. We follow a specific defined fee structure. There is a certain percentage to operations on Amazon, and that's where you balance out with your low initial investments, where you start paying Amazon on a transaction basis per transaction basis. There are multiple models of fulfillment that you can choose from based on what you have as a vision for your company. And the best part about this is that the revenue scale is not dependent on purchase orders on Amazon. So, it's typically, when something does not work, it doesn't mean that nothing else is going to work for you, right? Like, there are pivots, there are multiple other categories that might work better than your highlighted hero category on Amazon, because the way we've seen or experienced companies working with Amazon, there are differences in shopping patterns experienced over the web portal as compared to Amazon or even Flipkart or in general marketplaces, right? So when the brand is fairly new or not doing the kind of scale that I defined, again, scale is dependent on a case to case basis. It's suggested that we start with being a third party seller and then eventually work our way up, where once we feel that the price of doing shipments or logistics is getting out of hand, or we feel that there are limitations on expanding the infrastructure as a third party seller, we then switch over to these companies and we have negotiations with them. So so first party sellers usually have a vendor central account. They've got multiple distributors who are selling their products across multiple geographies. Pricing is something that they've taken in to consideration. Like, Amazon controls it in most cases. As a third party seller, you control the pricing to a lot of there's ample amount of bandwidth to play with the pricing. And so this is the basic difference between first party and third party sellers. So moving on, so because a lot of us are third party sellers here, these are the typical fees. And since I know a lot of people have been already working on Amazon since the past 3 years, you might be aware of this. Every transaction has got a referral fee to it, which is dependent on the product category. Fixed closing fees is a non-negotiable flat fee that you have to pay with every unit sold. Weight handling fees depends on the region that you are in, depends on the infrastructure that you've provided for your brand, depends on the way of fulfillment that you've chosen, FBA, MFN. We cover those, the basics later. And of course, the size and the segmentation in which the product is based on. And a lot of times, the weight handling fees is something that either helps make those small margins up for the brand, and sometimes it kind of breaks the profitability as well. So it's a controllable thing, and that is the only part here. Other fees are like promotional rebates or multiple other advanced features that you can opt for from Amazon. It will, they'll eventually reach out to you if you're doing good business with them. And then everything else has a tax component to it, right from these operational fees to the ad budgets. Everything will have a tax component. So these are, this structure is typically what a third-party seller follows. And basis on the category of the product and fulfillment method, a lot of things change for the seller. But what I've seen in my experience is that, so MFN versus FBA is one of the prime concern areas where a lot of people get stuck. And I'll kind of come back with a fee parameter to that discussion once we start discussing the fulfillment types. So moving on, how do you really grow on Amazon, right? Now, with the experience that I have and the team collectively, we've worked with all kinds of brands, right? We've worked with VC brands, VC-backed brands. We've worked with PE brands. We've worked with family-run bootstrap companies, and a lot of observations are coming from a perspective that on a brand owner level, how is profitability driven, right? And there are things that you need to do within Amazon, and there are a lot of things that you need to do outside Amazon as well. And if you look at the points that on the screen, you can see that outside Amazon, all the points that are mentioned are focused towards improving the brand presence, improving the brand equity, improving the product traction, getting more people to experience your products, and we won't be kind of covering those points because they are suggestions, and we can connect later if anyone has a question on that. But we'll be focusing on the points that are within Amazon, right? What can you do within Amazon to improve your profitability, right? And it's a basic 3-step guide, right? So first is where you build a amazingly well structured product detail pages, which builds a very strong Amazon presence for the brand. You make a very robust distribution network, and then you run ads to kind of help you get that initial visibility in place, understand certain benchmarks of what kind of conversion rates are your products getting, what kind of products are your workhorses, what kind of products you shouldn't be going aggressive on, and then eventually optimize till you get profitability going for you. So let's see a bit more detail on these 3 points. So the first part is Amazon presence, right? Now, the presence comes in, it's something that you build, right? It's not on day one with Amazon, you will not have that kind of presence unless, of course, you've been running your own D2C portal for a couple of years or months, for a lot of months, where the demand for your brand starts on Amazon, and then eventually you get into Amazon, right? In that case, things are already in place for you, but a lot of us are in that mindset that we can explore marketplaces and website at the same time because they are eventually sales channels, right? So the first step of having a great Amazon presence is to have amazingly well built product detail pages. Now, because the way marketplaces function, right, like as a part of communicating with the consumers, there is, if you compare the ads or any kind of communication that you have with your, like when you're running ads, there are 100 other competitors who are looking to grab that same target audience, right? So what is the differentiating part that gets you more eyeballs, clicks, and eventually conversions, right? So product detail pages need to be very well structured. Now, dividing this into 2 parts. One is for the consumers, where we look at images and the product video. There are 7 images that you are allowed to display on Amazon. There are rules to every image. The first image should be a white background image. It should cover the product completely. A rule of thumb is that the product should cover 85% of the white backgrounds. You should have a mix of infographics and lifestyle images that kind of portray the communication that the brand needs to have with the consumers. This is very, very important, and it's at the top. That's primarily because a lot of shopping happens through the mobile app. And if you've shopped on a mobile app, you'll see that unlike the desktop where the bullet points show up, the bullet points do not show up at all on the phone, right? Image gallery opens up. Images are supposed to be zoomable. They need to be of high resolution. People want to zoom to see the minute of details, and they would want to have that kind of a detailed look at what is happening, or what are they paying for. If your brand is a luxury or a premium over the mass volume brands, then this point becomes very, very important for you guys, where you kind of justify the premium pricing using images and product videos. Infographics will help you to communicate whatever you want to show show the brand USPs or use cases, directions of use, whatever you want to communicate with the consumers. Do that through infographics. Coming to the EBC or the A plus content here, this is another part of the consumer journey. This is where a lot of people understand more about the brand, and there are liberties that the brands can take in terms of creativity there. You can look at extremely well designed pages that show a continuous story form of why the product is at that premium, and a lot there are a lot of data points that you can put in place to measure the effectiveness. And Amazon has also started with an A/B testing module for testing out different content, A plus content modules. So the toggling of conversion rates with changing of content and images will be a very good indicator for you guys to kind of understand what is working for the brand, what kind of communication is working, what is not. So this is with, and of course, reviews and ratings is one part where a lot of credibility is driven to the consumers, right? A lot of people understand. So whenever if you have a lot of ratings on your product detail pages, there are certain features that mostly people talk about that are highlighted as keywords. So understanding that part will help you to improve your product, to kind of understand the consumer expectations, and also of course ratings and reviews just help in better CTRs, better conversion rates. It's just a consumer focused metric, and that should keep growing. Right? There are organic and inorganic ways to improve ratings, and we can discuss them later. Coming to the algorithm side of Amazon right now, the Amazon algorithm is kind of a technical platform. It needs to understand what you're trying to sell, right? Who is the target audience? What are these people doing? What is the interest of these people, right? So there is a lot of keyword play here in these elements. So product page titles typically are one of the key drivers of telling the algorithm what exactly is the product. And all this is done with an objective that there are certain keywords on which you would want the products to rank organically at the #1 position. Get the Amazon's choice tag, Amazon bestseller tag. So there's a structure that we follow for very good or very well written keywords. Product page titles. So it usually has a format where the brand name comes first, immediately followed by the type of product that you're selling, and then continued with the variation of the product, the USPs. And in this entire play, we need to add very important keywords that are going to be an essential part of scaling up on Amazon. The other attributes of the product, like color, quantity, that's all optional and again dependent on product categories. If you don't have to disclose so much information and it's a product that caters to a wider audience, you can have the keyword titles short, but it's not a mandatory thing, but it's a good practice to cover the kind of width we have for those keywords, only because it tells the algorithm what is the product and how you can improve it, right? And same applies to the bullet points, right? If you've seen bullet points on the desktop, you will see 5 points mentioned that have a lot of keyword play in it. These keywords are kind of ranked, chosen basis on the search volumes, basis on intent, basis on a lot of other factors, how primarily a category is going to be performing if these keywords are put into play. So all in all, the presence is built up with these elements that we see on the screen right now. And it's a continuous effort, right? It's not like once you establish something or you've created that product detail page, life is set and then you move on, because then trends change. There are categories that we've experienced that have had a negative growth or a tapering growth. Things will eventually start making sense if you start experimenting a lot with these elements, and that's where a lot of work also gets done, right? Like because you are looking to scale up on Amazon with profitability in focus, these elements will be the key drivers to kind of having a very good SEO for Amazon, right? Moving on, the second most important part of scaling with profits in focus is the product distribution and the shipping methods that you select for for fulfillment of your product. So I'll just explain these models quickly for people who don't know about this. So FBA is a model where so all of these models, the brand owners are using Amazon to list their products and get the advantage of traffic of Amazon. But the latter part, where the delivery happens to the consumer, that is where these models differ. Okay, so fulfillment by Amazon is where brand owners or the brands ship a huge quantity of products to warehouses in Amazon. That are maintained by Amazon, huge warehouses across all multiple major cities, covering almost 75 to 80% of the pin codes for a one-day delivery service. And then there's easy ship, there's self ship, and multiple seller flex options. So easy ship is where self ship. I'll come to easy ship in a while. So self ship is where the listing also happens on Amazon, but the brand owner chooses to kind of complete the delivery by using their own logistic setup. Right? They've got partners. They've got so they complete the orders using that setup. There are SLAs that they need to maintain, and and then easy ship is like a hybrid model between the FBA and the self ship modes. Now, what happens in easy ship is that the listing is done on Amazon. The brand receives an order, and Amazon sends its team to the customer's warehouse, the brand's warehouse, to pick up the order and then delivers it to the customer, right? Now, Seller Flex has come into operations recently. It's the newest of the other options. It usually comes along with an FBA tag, and it kind of comes along with a Prime tag for your deliveries, but it is still classified into the MFN mode, and that's primarily because of the way things are handled through Seller Flex, right? And we can kind of use Seller Flex to fulfill certain orders which we probably are not able to send to FBA warehouses, or in some situations Seller Flex just helps with an increased credibility with the Prime tag and shorter delivery dates. Now, amongst all these, the FBA mode is the most efficient way of doing business, and I'll explain why. Okay. Now, the first important part is that the FBA allows you to focus on the business. So now you're growing, right? Like you're going from 5 lakhs a month, 10 lakhs a month, 20 lakhs a month. The inventory management, coordinating with the logistics partners, or primarily having Amazon come to, send a couple of people to your warehouses, it kind of gets tiring. And we've experienced situations where these people, the courier people from Amazon team itself, do not show up in a lot of pin codes, and it creates a lot of problems, right? SLAs are breached, the brand credibility is lost because the algorithm doesn't understand that it was Amazon's fault that the delivery team wasn't there. So it allows you to focus on the business, right? Like it allows you to look for scale, right? It comes along with the Prime badge. Every transaction that's fulfilled through FBA has the Prime badge. It increases visibility and visibility in terms of organic visibility, right? You get a certain advantage over other sellers in the same category, selling the same in the same category, who are not doing an FBA. And that's primarily because Amazon is earning more value from brand owners, and having customer centric policies allows Amazon to also have the upper hand in terms of fulfillment, in terms of, so every second that a brand is there on Amazon, there's revenue that's generated because of the fee structure that we've seen, right? And because it has this like worked on this creating the distribution network with a lot of funding, it assists in scalability, right? Like if you have no production issues whatsoever, and if you have 1,000 units that can be shipped across multiple cities, which it will definitely help you increase your top lines, and to a lot extent your bottom lines, right? Now, fake returns or claims is something that FBA handles much better, and we've seen this across multiple brands. The prime reason is that the people who kind of handle returns on the FBA level are far more stricter as compared to those at the MFN level. And that's primarily what happens. So on a very ground level, FBA works much better. And this again typically applies for categories that have got a return policy, food or lingerie or innerwear as a segment, and they don't have return policies at all. So in that case, FBA works only in terms of the visibility, but there are ample amount of categories like home improvement or apparels or fashion, where you've got a 30-day return policy, no questions asked is what they claim. But when we kind of understand how the returns work, it for the brand, it is better as a on the sheet, it is better for the brand, right? Now, data analytics is one important part. Now, in the FBA part, data analytics primarily comes through because FBA gives the brands a reason why the customer returned a product, and it's not blatantly put in as no reason or unknown reason of sorts. So the consumer, the brand owners can actually take this as a feedback, and if there is a certain problem that is frequently seen, they can address it. So for example, in a certain seller that we were working with, who's selling bags, right? The size of the bag was not properly visible through images, and there were a lot of returns that said it was a nursery bag for the kids. So there were reasons through the FBA that mentioned the size is very small, can't even have store a A4 size book. And then we kind of worked on it, worked through images to kind of give people exactly what they're paying for, and that helped us a lot. So this does not happen in MFN, right? It kind of helps the brand to scale up efficiently, right? And the delivery network is mind-blowing, right? Like you can't compare the delivery network to any other company that's in this business, and that's why Amazon is at the top. Why you've got a single day delivery in some pin codes, you've got Amazon Fresh coming in, you've got so many programs of Amazon through the FBA, and the recently introduced program, which goes by the name IXD, is another, it's kind of a relief for a lot of sellers, where Amazon personally handles all the inventory within the FBA warehouses across the country. So of course, everything comes at a cost. And that's where, going back to the fee structure page. So FBA, because it is distributed across multiple cities, having that network in your grasp is one of the best ways to reduce the cost of transport or the last mile delivery to consumers. And because the regions are classified into multiple, there are classification of states into different regions. There are bases on the local, regional, or national level of order. The prices vary, right? Along with the sizes, of course. So, so the local deliveries will have a specific range, regional will have a specific range, and national will have a specific range that is defined from your fulfillment center or the FBA fulfillment center. If you're, for example, if you're working out from Delhi, the defined ranges will be around Delhi. And let's say if you are working only in Delhi or have only an FBA in Delhi, and if you're getting an order from, let's say, Bangalore, then the cost of fulfilling that order will be extremely high, right, in terms of margins. Now, If you, on the same hand, if you have an FBA center in Bangalore, the cost becomes extremely low, and you can then choose to have, allocate that margin to either the growth of the brand, or you can use it somewhere else, right? So, but then you are saving a lot of money if you're doing a lot of FBA and cluster replication. So that's the exact word that I was looking for. So cluster replication is where you have a lot of FBA centers, and again, it's a tedious process. It needs a lot of documentation. But then, once that infrastructure is set up, no one can stop you from scaling up on Amazon. The initial process is tough, I'll agree, and that's primarily because how work is done with government officials, with GST certificates, FSSAI licenses. But then, there are a network of people who, help to get these things expedited, and they may be coming at a cost, but it is worth every penny if you have a long-term vision of selling on Amazon. Right? Moving on. So this is the third part of scaling up on Amazon in a very profitable way. Ads, right? So this is the differentiator that Amazon has with compared to other marketplaces. It also had this differentiation in the US market still some time ago, until Walmart and the other marketplaces started their own ad engines. But this is where Amazon also makes money, and the brand owner is also satisfied that there is a way to accelerate visibility for the brand. And after accelerating that visibility, if the product has a good traction, if it has customers coming back to buy the product, then the brand is all set to scale up on Amazon. Right now, there are three basic type of ads: the sponsored product ads, sponsored brand ads, and sponsored display ads, also called product display ads. So sponsored product ads are usually focused at conversions. They are at the lower end of the funnel, of the sales funnel. They are majorly have placements on the search engine result page, in terms of tiles, and on the product detail pages to some extent. They can be automated, or they can be manual as well. Automatic usually works when the product detail page is very well made in terms of keywords, in terms of defining who are the target audiences, for who is what kind of profile is the right audience. What are the complements to that product. So automatic works when your product detail pages are really well made. Manual is usually where almost 85 to 80 to 85% of the overall budgets are allocated, because of a lot of control over where the ad is being shown, at what cost is the ad being shown, what is the cost per click, and eventually we come down to CTRs and conversion rates. So there's a funnel, and we kind of work forward and reverse to kind of optimize it for the brand. Now, if we have a brand registry done, which basically is submitting your approved trademarks to Amazon, we get access to sponsored brands and display ads. Now, what happens here in the brands part is there are multiple web placements on the Amazon app and the desktop version. But the way this brand ad differs from the product ad is that it kind of especially with the fact that it has a video that you can market for your product on any keyword, on your brand keywords or competitor brand keywords or generic keywords. It works really, really well if you have a product and a video that entices customers and at least captures that curiosity element, right? Brand ads have got over categories like cosmetics or skincare, hair care, where the brand needs to communicate their value add to the consumers at the first go. These ads really, really work wonders, and we've seen it across the board, right? So these are they drive considerations because they're mid-funnel ads. They have a manual targeting to it. As I said, you can target a product. You can target keywords, and within the keyword, you can target a bunch of them, right? And the top funnel ads, when we come to the sponsored display ads, they are like they're working to kind of generate that awareness. Now, in my experience, the display ads have been effective to an extent where if the brand is very well known, it has a much better return on ad spend as compared to the others. But if the brand is still in a stage where the product traction is being figured out, the product display ads might just not be as effective as the other two, right? They are there to drive awareness. They've got multiple ad slots. Things keep changing with Amazon, and that's why I can't really define those ad slots right now. But yeah, one of the major advantages that the display ads have is remarketing. Right? So if you can target consumers who have shown an interest, or segment them basis on if whether they've done a purchase or not, seen the product or not, and there are a few levers that we can use to kind of improve the efficiency of these ads. But sponsored brands and display ads will work only if the brand registry is done. Otherwise, the brand is limited to sponsored product ads. And we've seen a lot of cases where scale does not happen only with the support of sponsored products. Right? Either then the brand needs to do something relatively different from outside of Amazon to generate the traffic, or just fight for getting the trademark approved and then eventually start with brands and display and put growth at a later point in time. Right now, the two things that you need to really keep in mind while effective strategies for ads are considered. The first is like 75% of the shopping on Amazon happens through a search bar. So sponsored product ads, sponsored brand ads are very, very crucial in that sense. And a usual hygiene of the campaign manager or the AMS account that you're working on needs to be in place, where you need to have a certain structure in which you can clearly understand that what are certain segments that are working for you, what are those segments that are not working for you, so that negative targeting can be added, so that budgets can be allocated. But a lot of times we come across accounts where the structure is not given a lot of priority, and that's where this comes from an experience that having that structure in place will save a lot of time. It will save a lot of efforts for you, especially if you're managing things in house. There's a team that's reporting to you. So if you, let's say, if you have to find out how well the brand keywords are performing compared to the category keywords are performing, you need to have a structure that if you open up the campaign manager or the AMS account, you can figure it out by yourself, right? And rather than your team coming and reporting in with the data point, which again, it'll take them at least half an hour to kind of download all those reports, put on filters, pivot tables, and then come to you with data points. Now, I'm not saying that those Excel sheets are not important, but for quick decisions, for when you don't have that amount of bandwidth to kind of look at how efficiently the ad is being managed for a certain time period, the structure becomes very, very important. So for agencies, likewise, it's very important to maintain that structure. So we kind of make sure that happens, so that if anyone wants some kind of data download or understanding of what is happening, they can quickly access the campaign manager rather than requesting a certain report. Right? Now,
Krishna,
80%.
I think
Yes.
we are running short of time, right? So we are 9:55. Can we?
Okay.
So if everybody's okay, we will kind of extend it to 15 minutes, right?
Yeah,
So
I'm almost done. So after
yes,
this, I think only international growth is pending.
yes.
So
If we
this
can
is
just
one.
touch on international growth, and then we can have a
Yeah.
Q&A with people.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. Cool. So yeah, I mean, the last point I wanted to make is that 80% of the shopping happens on the mobile app. So if you're optimizing any image ads, try to see what is happening on the mobile app and then take calls. Right? Now, international growth with Amazon, why this happens? I mean, there's the reasons of doing this is there are plenty, and it's primarily to scale up, to build a brand on a global stage. Better revenues, better margins, better consumer profiles. People like it. I mean, situations in India are not comparable to that of the US or the UK, where there's a lot of negative negative targeting happening with the brands, competitors ordering stuff, returning them. A lot of it, just subsides down, right? And Amazon is also promoting a lot of global selling. Typically, it's pledged a lot. It's pledged a certain money to kind of take that amount of make that amount of money from taking brands from India to the US, right? It provides warehousing support for like FBA centers in the Amazon can be used to fulfill your website orders if you activate, let's say, markets in the US or the UK, right? So it works in amazingly well ways, and the process is actually on the at the top of it. It's very simple. You need to register. You need to list your products, and then you can ship your products to the FBA centers. But doesn't really go that smooth, and we'll find out more reasons of why it doesn't happen like that. But at the base, it is this way. Now, if you're already registered on Amazon India, and if you're looking to expand in the US markets, then or any international market for that matter, you just need to replicate your listings. There's a certain process to it where you don't have to redo all the listings again, and you also get the advantage of reviews from India showing up as global reviews on your product detail pages when live on Amazon in the international markets. So it's usually if it works well, it works wonders, right? So let's find out the reasons, or let's find out how we can plan this better, right? Now, the first step that you do when you want to go into the US or the internet. So I'm primarily going to be stating US because the European markets are limited to the growth is limited to a lot of English speaking countries because there's a lot of language barriers. The US market is US and the Middle East markets, they are around, just with the US markets, it's about 20-25 times bigger than the Indian market. So there's a lot to kind of establish there. Europe, the Middle East and Singapore markets are still in the process of developing the kind of infrastructure and target audience for the brands. It's still growing, and that's where a lot of brands that we talk to want to focus on Middle East, Singapore, and the US, and that's primarily how it goes, right? Now, there are tools that people can use to kind of understand what is the size of the market, whether there's a demand for your product or not. And then how competitors are playing it out there, what is the pricing they're coming in, what is the reviews that they're on, because you will be competing with those products, so there needs to be a competitive edge, which brings us to a specific pricing strategy. Now, there are a lot of elements to be considered while you define that strategy, and we'll discuss more on that when in the next slide. We need to understand what are the certifications and clearances that you need for selling products. So, for example, cosmetics or have certain ingredients that are banned in a few countries. Food items need FDA regulations, FDA certifications, and all these certifications, if required, need to be put on your product packaging as well, so that there's no case raised and the other countries just play it very safe in terms of consumer consumptions or consumption patterns, or how people react to certain products, right? You need to consider warehousing and 3PL options versus the FBA that we suggested earlier, because there are a lot of issues where inventory is lost in transit. FBA has a specific way of distributing products. There's no clarity in terms of when the products are getting inbounded. A lot of issues with FBA, and the way returns are also handled on Amazon works. That if you're shipping from India, there are these things that you can consider. Now, 3PL warehouses are basically warehousing partners for your brand in the international markets. And one advantage they have with over FBA is that they can open other marketplaces in those countries for your brand, right? So the best model to work with usually is having a 3PL warehouse and then shipping those products from the 3PL warehouse to the FBA warehouse and still having the FBA advantage. Now the costing needs to work out, and that's where a lot of cost related parameters need to be discussed when you're planning for international expansion, right? You need to choose the right shipping partners. There are multiple partners, FedEx, DHL, a lot of them, and people are doing good business with them. US registrations, I mean, typically in countries like US and the UK, you need to kind of register. Even in the other European markets, you need to register your company there. In fact, in the European markets, you need a VAT number for every country that you move into. But the US, you have to have, so it's not a must-have feature that you register your brand there. But when you scale up, there are multiple issues like ASIN trafficking, brand infringement because of other competitors not wanting you to go out and scale up. There are you kind of need to safeguard yourself against such issues that might crop up. Tax and payment compliances is something that you need to really take account for, because then there are few compliances when you're earning from Amazon from international markets and you need to declare those earnings. You need to understand how payments are being handled, and there are a lot of areas that you need to kind of consult with experts in this field. And if you just open up the seller provider network with the global selling team, there are people who you can immediately talk to. And if you are finding trouble, we can help you connect with people there as well. And then global selling team is one. I mean, the connect with the global selling team is very important, because they are, I mean, the people in the global selling team are assigned to kind of take your brand to international markets. They'll take care of a lot of issues that you face in terms of FBA shipments or listings or brand stores or whatever you want to kind of scale up on Amazon. So having that connect is very, very important. It just expedites resolutions of a lot of issues, right? So these are the certain things that you need to plan for. And out of that, I think the market sizing and research part is the most crucial for you to plan, right? You need to understand a lot of things, because from there you come to a pricing strategy. You need to understand a lot more things, right? Now, going into execution, there are points that you need to be really careful for. So the first point that I suggest is budgeting, right? Like now there is a certain calculator that we have, and I think this is the way it works with all other brands, that all cost components are put in that sheet, and then there is a projected cost of products landing in the US or any other international markets. And then basis on the referral fees, basis on operational costs, you then compute the pricing with a steady P&L. It's just a forecast, but you need to understand that the cost components, everything has a cost component, right? Like shipping has a cost component, and you need to understand it on a unit level, right? Freight forwarding has its own costs, imports, custom duties has its own costs, referral fees have different ways in which multiple markets treat it, and FBA fees again have their costs. So budgeting is very, very important, and to be honest, we need to budget for the inventory that we send to the international markets for a period of 6 months, where we kind of do not look at profitability of that sorts coming in till the product kind of garners traction. And if there are multiple efforts that are being taken to promote the business from outside of Amazon, it works wonders. But this is the budgeting part needs to happen very, very crucially and to a minutest details, because then there are other issues that come up, that can come up, which kind of screw up a lot of parameters. But then having a baseline really helps to set expectations, right? Now the second most important part is building an inventory pipeline, right? Like now, if we've seen a lot of brands face degrowth because their products were out of stock, because they were just trying out a few products. The trial went really well, and then they had 3 months of shipping, and then the products came on board, and it took 2 months to kind of build that rapport again. So if you're planning to send out inventory, make make plans that if there is a certain set of products that works really well on Amazon, then the next shipment can be done through air, right? Like, so that the inventory pipeline is being built, right? That is the most crucial part of doing business in the US or the international markets, right? It's very important that the products do not go out of stock there, because with every out of stock situation, ranking falls, the history that the product develops, that falls, a lot of issues, and then it's just you know snowball effect, and then eventually it takes a lot of time to bring the performance back up, right? And of course, take care of compliances and policy violations. Now, compliances and policy violations are, it can be very minute, it can be big, but your research needs to be thorough, because then if it occurs after 6 months of operations, your money can be blocked, your inventory can be blocked. You'll eventually would want to write off. We've been in those situations. We've seen people struggle with international sales, and that's where research and planning comes very, very handy, right? Like, you need to know that you're doing this right, and there's got to be money coming in properly and steadily from Amazon. So these are a few focus areas that you need to really take attention, focus upon. And because Prime Day is coming up, there are a few tips that we have in terms of what you can do for Prime Day, especially in India. The dates have not been declared, I guess, till now. There are a lot of rumors going on, but a lot of category managers have also indicated that they themselves do not know the final dates. So basic hygiene, make sure products do not go out of stock. If your products are really in demand and people are waiting for the prices to fall, give them good discounts on Prime Day. We've seen 7x to 14x of businesses happening as compared to a BAU day, with discounting and products being in stock. Optimize your listings. Make sure you refresh your EBC templates, you refresh your images, you kind of understand which keywords are getting most impressions on, what is being most searched upon, and then allocate budgets to improve visibility if you are doing good discounts, and if you're kind of working or if you have big plans for Prime Day, make sure you've got a good budget and marketing strategy to kind of get through. And then, of course, you can market this on other outside on social platforms as well. So yeah, that's about it. And these are certain questions that we pulled up after looking at seller forums, after looking at a lot of blogs, right? So from the poll, I did not know, a lot of people didn't want, are quite experienced with this. So Prime badge is basically it's a Prime badge which kind of comes. So I think we did mention this somewhere. Yeah. So this is the Prime badge. So this kind of indicates that for Prime consumers, people are. So there's a specific set of people who opt for Prime services, and Prime badge just gets more credibility for the brand, and Prime services often charge people some amount of money to get the products delivered faster. Having a Prime badge just kind of improves conversion rates. Buy box.
Krishna's just sorry for interrupting here, right?
Sure.
So quickly, probably like what we should do is let's open the forum for the people to ask questions. I had certain questions, but I would, in the interest of time, I would want to skip them and directly ask from people if they have any questions, specific questions with respect to Amazon that they are facing for their brands.
Sure.
Guys, can you raise your hand or unmute yourself to ask a question? There's one question from Anju in the chat, which says, if we are selling on FBA, do we still have to put our products on multiple warehouses?
Yes, and this is very important for you, because as I mentioned, the cost of logistics reduces significantly, and all the consumers pan India get the product delivered within 1 day. So Amazon also boosts visibility. So it's very important if you have one FBA, you kind of distribute your products across multiple FBAs. Does that answer your question, Anshu?
So do we have to take GST for all the different states?
Yes, yes. As I said, right, building that cluster replication part is a tedious process. It needs GST certificates, and then it eventually helps you to scale up in the longer run. Initial process is hard. If you are especially dealing with food products, then you have to also opt for a FSI license, and then you can register yourself in multiple FBAs.
How many FBA warehouses would you recommend that we target to put our product in?
So there are about there's a list of 13 warehouses that we suggest, and yeah, so it's not across all the states, but 13 cities.
Thank you.
So the major part of scale up happens with the four important cities: Delhi, NCR, Bangalore, Mumbai, and Kolkata. Right, these are four basic regions where you have to get an FBA registered if you're looking for a long-term profitable scale. And then there are other cities like Lucknow, Ahmedabad, Pune, Coimbatore, and then some parts of the eastern coast like Hyderabad and Bhopal. All those cities. It just streamlines your delivery faster.
Sure. Akshara has a question. She's asking if the FBA margins are more.
So margins in FBA are so in terms of the referral fees and fixed closing fees. So referral fees are practically the same, but fixed closing fee, picking and packing fee, and the logistics cost. If you compare an FBA working model versus an MFN, it turns out to be roughly the same, right? So the only advantage that FBA will have is if you do cluster replication, the cost of your unit delivery reduces to a huge extent where it starts acting as margin for the brand.
Yeah.
That kind of control you don't have with MFN.
Thank you. Krishna, Anirudh had a question. Is there any negotiation power as a brand they have on the commissions that they are levied on by the Amazon?
Okay, so if you're working as a third party seller, right, and if you are registering yourself on Amazon, uh, it there can be definitely there can be negotiations, and that heavily depends on the connects that you have within Amazon, right? But if you are going through the process of registration with the links and getting your products listed without the help of a category manager, you will fall under the standard structure, right? If you're working with Amazon retail, then there's more negotiations happening on a pricing basis, but definitely there is a scope to negotiate to reduce your referral fees, but there are certain commitments you need to do in terms of ad spends, in terms of scaling up, because Amazon is expecting more revenue from you. They'll ask you to register in multiple FBA centers, and you'll have to do every bit of it. So there's definitely more scope for negotiations. So the second question, Anirudh, I think with timelines to get listed, I don't think there are issues there, because listing is something that happens for a product. It happens instantaneously. If you're selling on India, it just gets replicated there. You just have to make sure that everything is replicated properly, and wherever there are gaps, just fill it up with manual work. But when it comes to sending out inventory and making that listing live so that people can buy there, that takes a lot of time, right? Like it's almost about 3 months before you can actually start with sales, right? And regulatory work, as I explained, it's all a part of the planning and research part of international expansion, right? Yeah, so when it comes to reporting, there is something called TACOS and ACOS that we measure in terms of understanding ad efficiency.
Krishna, can you read the
and
question
understanding
for everybody, like how to improve a cost ratio
okay,
and
sorry.
organic sales on Amazon, right?
Yeah, so the question is like, are there reports that are that can indicate organic sale growth? And there are reports to do that. So if you so there are business reports in which you can understand how many sessions came in compared to how many page views happened, and against those how many people actually converted, right? Now you offset that from your ad data, and you will have a proper divide of ad level sales versus total sales. Now, I wouldn't say the difference is organic sale because of the attribution window that Amazon follows. If you're not working on an AMS account and running ads to a campaign manager, the window is about 7 days. So there's a lot of waterfall that happens, and switching off ads directly has a negative impact on the overall revenue, right? And this especially happens in cases where the brand is relatively new, or let's say I'm doing a revenue of less than around 8 lakhs, 10 lakhs. But then once you scale up, have that brand building, and again, brand building exercises that you're doing outside of Amazon, they are the extremely effective levers for driving organic sales. And then there comes a point stage where making does not impact, and then that is where you realize that okay, this scale sales is coming in. Yeah. So the way of organic sales is, again, the first way is to have a very strong product listing. Like position your product in a very detailed manner, like help understand the consumers who are the right audience for your products. Make sure images carry the communication. Make sure EDC templates are really well made, focused, structured, and keep on doing A/B testing to kind of test this conversion rate. And at some point, the product distribution is the biggest lever that I'd say will contribute to organic sales, because when we connect with a lot of category managers, the kind of spends, the focus on spends that they do is relatively less as compared to they'll be pushing us to kind of do cluster replication, pushing our kind of leaders that we work with for multiple categories. They've always had FBA centers in minimum of 13 locations, and then of course there's more scale up. So with FBA reports, you can kind of understand which location is performing better than the others, and then distribute inventory accordingly. So optimization is that part, and that will further help you increase your organic sales.
So Tejinder has a question. He's saying that should we do should we do self shipping, since Easy Ship doesn't provide consumer data, right? Email numbers.
So see, this is a flip side. I mean, this is the other part of the coin where Amazon does not want you to interact with the consumers. But let's say if you are working in a category like electrical appliances or bags or something that has a warranty to it, there are a lot of sellers that have attached, a part of extended warranty to be provided if the consumer gets back to them through FBA, right? So see, Easy Ship is not going to help you scale up at all, and it's going to be expensive in the longer run because you will never know from where the products are coming in. And of course, if you have multiple, self-ship, if you have multiple warehouses in different cities and you are able to cater to these consumer demands easily, then there is still the totem point that Amazon will not give you that edge over the other seller who's doing an FBA for you, right? There can be variations in buy box. You will lose it a lot of times. There can be variations in prime badges. And whenever there's a fulfilled by Amazon tag, it's just more credibility, and the conversion rates are typically higher, right? And if you're dealing with categories that are really big, like mattresses or furniture, then there is no other option, right? Like then you should scale up only with self-ship, right? In that sense. But there are multiple ways to get the consumer's details, by asking the consumer to write back to you. If you can come up with a hook that the consumer will write back to you, that's all that is needed to get that detail. And these techniques are often used to increase the reviews that we get, ratings and reviews that we get on Amazon. So these techniques are used very widely.
Before we take Tejinder's question, Parag has a question. Parag, if you can unmute yourself.
Yeah, Krishna, hi. This is Parag here.
Hey, Parag.
Yeah. Hey. Okay. See, I represent the brand Boundary One, and this brand is fairly a new, brand. So we just, launched ourselves on Amazon a year back. Now, unfortunately, what actually happened? We had a very bad experience with the, Amazon service provider. Now, we'd hired 3 agencies in the past. the moment,
Okay.
we've given, handed over our, work to the agencies actually spoiled the entire, keywords, description. I think, we as individuals did a better job than probably these agencies. Now, my question is, how do you
Okay.
identify that the agency is capable enough to handle your sort of business? See, what actually happened, we've actually lost a lot of, period in this, while, shifting out, handing over the business to this agency and coming back. So when you're doing the initials, of course, I mean, you need to look at the credibility of that organization. So, I mean, there was one such, organization which was very, very strong, recommended by, some multiple players. But the moment, because we are a strong brand, I mean, I think they took us for a ride. I mean, they took the entire,
Okay.
service, money as an advance. And at the end, we were the one who actually ended up losing up. So we had to, discredit the service, and we had to we realized that the keywords like, I mean, but not even, correct enough. Basically, I mean, they were like misleading also. I mean, some of the keywords are like, in fact, giving, misrepresentation of the brand. So I think, so my question is, how do you identify that this agency is good, you can take care? So is there an answer for this?
Yeah, and I'll be answering it in a perspective that if tomorrow you decide to build an internal team, you'll find these points helpful to kind of filter out the bad part of the experience, right? Now, you need to kind of look. See, of course, you're going to be doing a background check with the past clients that the agency has handled, and there are multiple references also coming in from co-founders and other people from the network. But what you really need to look at is how realistic is the agency or the person who's talking to you, right? Like if they're, if they are promising you the moon, then do they have that kind of, how do I put it? Do they have that kind of conviction in the pitch that they're putting in, right? Like when you ask super embarrassing questions, do they say that we'll come back, or do they avoid answering to the point, or they kind of put out those facts straight in front of you and tell you that this is some areas where we will be able to help you, these are some areas where you need to support us, and it works that way, like and of course there is so usually a lot of questions on the brand owner's front in the same sense get answered when an audit of the account is done, right? And the audit clearly defines what is a strategy that the agency is planning to take forward, and in that strategy you can look for weak areas, strong areas, and as I said, how realistic is the projection, right? Because handling Amazon accounts is for at least me, in my experience, it's a fact of numbers. And if there are specific numbers on the table, and if there is a plan that is put on the agencies from the agency side, given that there is weekly reporting in place, you are getting a complete transparent understanding of that situation in which your brand is progressing. You can take those calls, right? And if and I'm not sure how the prepaid or deposit money works, but yeah, I mean that's something that that needs to be coming in with a collateral, or I am not really sure how you can face that situation, but I'll say that details, the details that the agency is providing and the conviction with which they answer your questions, those should be your levers of, or those should be your identification points.
Absolutely. I think I've understood you well, Krishna. What you mean is, I think it's very, very objective that, if the agency is.
No, I just wanted to know whether you got an audit done when you started working.
No, we did. In fact, there was a reference which was given to us by another D2C brand. And so I think, it was just desperation that we were looking for some, serious and sincere, service provider. That is how we signed up with them. So they were, very, they were clear that they wanted to take the entire, 1 year's service fee in advance. I said that I don't even know you guys. I mean, how do I do that? So I said, okay. We negotiated that, 1 year, service fee to six months. And believe me, even with those 6 months, they were like exorbitant. And I did see what I was saying, like, let me be performance driven. rather than, just a service fee that I pay you. Let me, you prove your service, then I think we're fine. I mean, it's a pure sales game. I mean,
Yeah.
you use deliver and you earn. I mean, both of us earn.
Yeah, makes sense.
So I
Makes sense.
and of course, I mean, when you have a comfort, when you have the confidence, then you can actually, you can just go ahead, head on with them. So
Right.
yeah, I think it's very important that I think that audit is also very important. I think, before we start.
Yeah.
Great.
But I think, Krishna, frankly speaking, I think you've given, a lot of, good insights. I think it's really, fascinating to know. I mean, what all you can actually do on this platform.
Yeah, I'm glad that you find value in this.
Absolutely.
So I think this point is for all of us here. Like, so the way Amazon is usually handled by a lot of agencies is that it's usually an extension of the performance marketing platforms from Google and Facebook. So a lot of commercials come into picture where they're dependent on ad spends, right? And Amazon being a platform where conversion rates are usually upwards of 15 to 17%, ad spends are really low, right? So that's where profitability for the agency also comes into picture, and a lot of things don't go well. So in a race to get more or complete targets, or probably not having a clearly defined strategy of commercials, people usually have screw ups here, right? So it's better that and we felt it that way, right? Like, we felt that Amazon needs to be treated differently, because there are more focus areas where we can add value than just ads, right? And even when I say that, I come from a very strong PPC background, right? And I understand ads to quite an extent, but then there's a team that I've built, and it's working very well.
Wonderful. I think that sums up and answers a lot of everybody's question. And so, yes, if there is no questions, we'll kind of wrap up, guys. Thank you, Krishna, for being here. Yes, giving all the
Thank you,
insights.
Abhishek. Thank you, guys, for being patient with my presentation.
And if you allow, I think I've got a request from a couple of people of sharing these slides with them.
Sure.
Yes.
I'll share it with you.
Yes, we can do that. So, guys, before we leave, thank you all of you for being here. I think we expected this to be a 1 hour session. It got extended to 1.5 hours, 90 minutes. So thank you for being patient. And just a quick poll that I would be running, just to understand what you feel about the session. So while you guys fill up this poll, I think I've messaged on the group itself. We are doing offline meetups as well for D2C. So we are doing offline meetups in Delhi and Bangalore. One is happening on 2nd of July. Another is on 8th of July. So I'm putting the links again. So if any of you would want to join those offline meetups, so you can register there. And we have an D2C group, a pan-India WhatsApp group of D2C founders. So feel free to join that there as well. Wonderful, guys. Thank you so much. Thank you, Krishna, for being here. And it was lovely.
Thanks, Abhishek. Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Okay. Bye-bye, guys.
Thank you, guys.